not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate I've got Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. He's the most overrated player. And there you are, the Chicago Bears with a championship defense. And Mitch, I'm sure Dancing with the Stars is happy to have Antonio back. If you thought you were going to get Zion, that's your bad.
You are now listening to Open Season. Your host, Billy Allen.
Welcome. He is I and I am him. I'm Billy Allen, co-hosting with Frankie Bratica. This is Open Season. It's Tuesday at 7:30. We are live from Seasons 52 here in Chestnut Hill, and we've got a whole lot to talk about. Brian Murphy produces the show. We've got Tom Brady in his 14th conference championship game, and Bill Belichick isn't looking like the quote-unquote genius. We're going to be talking about Aaron Rodgers and the Pack. We're going to be talking about the Chiefs, Bills, making some predictions there. We're also going to get into a little trade that happened this week. James Harden joins up with Kevin Durant and Mrs. Irving in New Jersey. And we're also going to be talking about Luka Doncic with another triple-double, completely bastardizing that stat. But first, we have to get into this weekend and New England's own Tom Brady pulling out the win there. A little 30-20 win where he looked 43 years young and Drew Brees looked 42 years old. My God, Tom Brady, what can we say that hasn't been said? Him pulling this out, bringing that winning culture to Tampa. They advanced to a championship team, the championship game from a group of a bunch of losers last year to winners this year. Kicking out Drew Brees. Everybody thought that it was going to be 3-0 against Tampa, but they pull out the win. Frankie, what do you have to say about this?
New England's own Tom Brady. I think you meant San Francisco's own Tom Brady. Secondly,
the adopted son.
The adopted son. The son that got kicked out of the house, right? That's why he's in Tampa. Listen, a lot of quarterbacks could have went into that game with a winning pedigree and a gritty mindset and gone 18 of 33 for 199 yards.
Would they have been as clutch as Tom Brady was down the stretch, though? Touchdown, field goal, run out the clock to end that game.
If Jared Cook fumbles the ball in that spot at that time, Kirk Cousins would have won that game.
I don't think Kirk Cousins would have won that game. I don't think Kirk Cousins would have made enough plays along the way and had them playing as well as they did. I mean, they played really well over this last month. I don't think Kirk Cousins could maybe make some plays here and there, but you're not going to tell me he had the last month that he could do the last month that Tom Brady has.
I don't know that there's a lot of quarterbacks that would have got in there and won, I believe, 8 of their last 9. I think that's what the Buccaneers did. That's pretty impressive, and you can attribute a fair amount of that to Tom Brady. That being said, they were third in yards and third in points last year. Their only problem is that they set the NFL record for turnovers. So you're looking at simply not turning the ball over 30 times this year. They were going to be better. They already had a top 5 offense without him.
I mean, sure. I mean, they had a good offense, but don't you think that Tom Brady really brought the culture with him as well? I mean, you've listened to Bruce Arians talk about how he's kind of just let Brady do his thing. You've heard about Gronk. You've heard about, basically they go from, the no-fun culture of New England where you really can't do anything here. And Tom Brady.
Except win.
Yeah, except win. The genius, Bill Belichick, whose contingency plan was Cam Newton. I mean, the genius who won with a Hall of Fame defense and the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, he's just not looking like as much of a genius these days, I would say.
If in 2016 you trade Tom Brady for 2 firsts and you move forward Jimmy G, I think you look like a genius. The biggest villain in this whole scenario, and the further Brady goes, the bigger this chasm gets, the more abundantly clear it's going to be that Robert Kraft is the one who dropped the ball here. You first your quarterback. You said his contingency plan was Cam Newton. His contingency plan was get rid of Brady and keep Jimmy Garoppolo. And if he's allowed to do that, I have no doubt he's more successful than he was this year. That's not on the coach or the quarterback. That's on Kraft. Kraft is the one who said, we can't franchise you. We'll put that in your contract. Kraft is the one who said, we need to get rid of Jimmy. He tried to keep Brady and Belichick happy. I would have been happier had he decided, we're going with Brady. Bill, you got to go because you can get compensation for him. I would have been happier had he said, we're keeping Bill, we're keeping Jimmy. I'm sorry, Tom. But he tried to play this middle ground, and that's the biggest reason why we're in a no-win situation.
Yeah, because Jimmy Garoppolo has been such a gamer. You know, the guy gets through like 2 games. Guy couldn't even get through 2 full games without Tom Brady when he was there for the first 4 games. You know, the guy's like an absolute skeleton. He made Nick Mullins look like a Pro Bowl quarterback this year. I mean, I just don't think that was the best plan. I don't think that the guy holds on to the ball too long. He takes too big of hits. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo was anything too special.
I don't think he's special either. That's not the point. Can he
so
win
you could win games.
Bill Belichick is a top 1 coach
You're
of
going
all
to win
time.
Super Bowls with Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, look what he had last
The
year.
49ers almost won a Super Bowl in spite of
They
Garoppolo.
carried him there.
Sure. You think Bill didn't carry Brady to his first 3?
Yeah, but I mean, if you want to talk about the genius in Belichick, I mean, that defense was provided for him by Parcells.
Ty Warren had nothing to do with it. Will Fork had nothing to do with it. Getting rid of Malloy and replacing it with Harrison had nothing to do with it. Belichick also drafted Chandler Jones, Dante Hightower. He traded for Revis. He traded for Talib. I mean, to say that he has not built a defense past what Parcells and Carroll gave him is a misnomer.
I mean, sure, that 14 defense had some studs on it, and they played well, but I mean, that team wasn't like an all-time defense or anything like that.
Does it need to be? I mean, look, he's had Tom Brady in his Patriots career has had to play against a team that scored 30 points twice.
In the Super Bowl?
In the playoffs, twice. Aaron Rodgers has lost 6 games where his defense gave up 30 points. I don't think we need Tom Brady to show and articulate the genius of Belichick. I mean, he invented the dime defense to say F you, Steve Walsh and Joe Montana. He went to the Browns and did nothing. That's your one knock on him, and you guys should hammer that into the ground. Because what Brady's done doesn't say a whole lot besides Kraft messed up and Belichick was really ousted and bitter now. And everything that he did in between 2000 and 2020 was more him than Brady. I'm sorry.
You don't think that any of it had to do with the way that Belichick treated Brady, though? If he was more willing to... I mean, Belichick is the GM. I mean, if Belichick decides to... You're putting stuff on Kraft, but if Belichick decides to keep Brady, if he decides not to treat him like a rookie and air him out in front of the entire team, allow him to have a little bit more say in personnel, which we've seen that he could go down to a team like Tampa and have a little bit more say and be pretty successful, if he was willing to give some very small concessions to Tom Brady. We're not just talking about anyone here. I mean, sure, they had the system that worked, but I mean, you make a couple concessions. There's guys like Peyton Manning. There's guys like LeBron James. You make concessions to certain guys. I get that you have your system, but you can't break for somebody that's the greatest quarterback of all time?
No. Well, here's the thing. I personally believe that once he got rid of Garoppolo, he probably should have invested in Brady. I don't think Belichick's infallible. I do believe that he would have won with Jimmy G. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Super Bowls.
Yeah. Jimmy G is
So he would have suddenly
G is
started
one-
drafting well at defense? I mean, the guy hasn't drafted a Pro Bowler since 2013.
No, nobody has gone peaks and valleys in the draft. He did go 7 straight busts at the tight end position before drafting Gronkowski and Hernandez. He did draft Razai Dowling, but he also drafted Asante Samuel. He also knew to pay Ty Law. He also knew to trade for Talib and Revis. I mean, what he usually cannot draft, he has a track record of trading for or signing.
Sure. Well, we do have a clip from Colin Cowherd. He talks about how Brady looked great in the win, and let's let that one play.
Tom looked great. Honestly, I don't know what it is. I don't know if he goes to Europe. I don't know what he's taken. Maybe it's the supermodel wife. I have no idea. Maybe it's avocado ice cream. But Drew Brees struggling perfectly framed how amazing Brady is. This feels very much like LeBron and D. Wade, where at the end, D. Wade's a Hall of Famer with great integrity, but he's coming off the bench and he's not very dynamic, and LeBron's still the best player in the game. What? How's that possible? It's not really. Maybe LeBron eats avocado ice cream for breakfast too. Breeze is still really good, but Breeze is how you age when you get to 40. That's what you look like. That's what you look like. Can't throw the deep ball. just don't have that zip on the sideline passes. That was as impressive as I've ever seen. I don't want to hear about Belichick. I don't want to hear about the weapons. I don't want to hear about the system. Remember all those articles that came out about a year and a half ago with Tom? Anonymous sources. We could have won with a lot of quarterbacks here. Yeah, I saw Cam. It wasn't great.
So, I mean, I don't know what your take is there. It seems like you think any quarterback could have walked in there. We have a couple people saying that Belichick didn't carry Brady. Brady's going to end all-time leader in most QB stats. C.J. Beathard, not that far off from Jimmy G. So
False.
A couple people chiming in.
Except for C.J. Beathard, his career under 500, and Jimmy G has a career winning percentage of what, 580, sorry. So not at all the same.
And are you attributing that to his spectacular play? It's not like
I'm attributing to that to what Jimmy G is what Tom was early. Not what Tom is now, what Tom was early, which is a system quarterback. You know why Jimmy G is constantly winning? Because he was able to run Belichick's system perfectly for 2 games. That's 2-0. And then he was able to run Kyle Shanahan's system perfectly for a season. The only time he's ever been healthy is a season in 3 games. And in a season in 3 games, he's winning a ridiculous percentage of his games, which is why he doesn't need to be spectacular, and I don't think they can win with anybody. I believe the quote that they're alluding to there is one of the anonymous personnel came out in the Patriots organization, said, we don't think Tom is as special as the media does. We could win with any of the top 15 guys. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's stupid. That's hubris. That's arrogance. That's a whole lot of things that isn't truth. But the top 10 guys, could he have won with Rodgers? Could he have won with Manning? Could he have run with Breeze? Yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. And here's the other thing. The reason Brady Belichick worked so well for so long is because he got Brady young. Newsflash, if he gets Brady after 3 Super Bowls, they don't work for 2 years. The reason that marriage lasted 20 years is because Brady didn't know another way for long enough.
Frank, I think you are embarrassing yourself a little bit. We have Nick Smith saying, what's going on, calling you Frank Kellerman. We have Josh Dodd chiming in saying that defense carried Jimmy G's to the Super Bowl. And I was saying the same thing. I mean, you're really going to put that much on Jimmy G?
No, I'm quote unquote coaching.
Quote unquote saying he did it perfectly. Yeah, so how many other quarterbacks could have done what Jimmy G did? I mean, did Jimmy G do
10.
anything? I mean, basically, hold on to the ball a little bit too long, get broken anytime you have a chance.
That didn't happen. I'm assuming, and this is the assumption, this is the pontificating, I'm assuming Belichick could have coached out some of those woes that Shanahan couldn't. That's me having the utmost faith in Bill, and maybe that's the only speculation I've had. But the fact is he's 2-0 for Bill, and when he's played for Kyle Shanahan, he's got a winning percentage. And it doesn't matter, because for the record, largely in that Super Bowl season, he didn't have Bosa. And here, he wasn't throwing to jack squat. So if he has a system, he'll be fine. And who's got the best system in the world for football? It's Belichick or Saban.
So as far as the Patriots moving forward, I guess you would be a fan in having Garoppolo come here and coming under the system. And
give me Cousins, give me Darnold, give me Jimmy G. We can win a high level of games with that system with almost anybody except for Hoyer and Cam Newton. And I was on the Cam Newton bandwagon. Like, I'm aware that I was wrong. That's the crow I'm willing to eat. Cam Newton was a bad decision. Tom Brady threw for 40 touchdowns this year, and the Patriots quarterbacks threw for 9, was it? I think it was 9. I mean, he threw for like a 4-to-1 ratio versus what the quarterbacks for the New England Patriots threw for. So obviously, losing him was a big step down. I don't think it was that big a step up for the Buccaneers. And I do believe if we didn't have bottom 1% quarterback play, we would have made the playoffs.
So you don't think that Belichick looks foolish at all for this decision? You don't think Belichick regrets this decision?
He looks arrogant for this decision. He looks like he looks like Kraft said no to him one time in 20 years, and he said, you don't say no to me. If you expect me to make dinner, then I get to buy the groceries. That's what it looks like. It looks like Belichick was petty. It looks like he's holding a grudge. Stupid, foolish, no. Arrogant, full of hubris, kind of petty, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just think, I think Belichick is I feel like he has made some decisions. He hasn't had the whiteout that Brady has been over these past however many years, and we've got one ringing through right now. We'll take it. Hi, you're live with Open Season. Who do we got?
This is Aaron Davis. Billy Allen, how's it going, big man on campus?
Hey, it's going great, Aaron. It's great to hear from you tonight. How you doing?
Man, I can't complain, man. Sunshine and blue skies somewhere. Just not here. It's cold.
Far from here. Far from here.
Far from here. I just wanted to call into the show, man. I heard you guys were talking about some Belichick and basketball. See what was on the agenda tonight.
Yeah, we got a lot on the agenda. I mean, I'm sure you probably want to talk a little bit about the. I mean, I know you're a guy with your, you got your ear to the ground on as far as the NBA. I know you and I can always go for hours on the NBA. Did you have a thought on Brady's play this weekend, or did you want to get into the NBA? I mean, we'll let you set the table.
I'll do both, man. I'll talk about Brady's play and the NBA, specifically the Brooklyn Nets. Let's talk about that. I don't know which one to do first, but Brady was Brady, man. I mean, just watching him, just do what he does. I mean, he has a way and a style and a class of just like, I'm not going down, man. So as a Patriot fan, it felt good to see it. And, let him know that he still got some juice in the tank. And it was very like nostalgic almost, like, damn, I sure wish we had him this year. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, like, football is football, right? The business is the business. But I just wish that, Kraft and Belichick could have put some stronger weapons around him. I think we could have got another chip out of him, I believe.
I completely agree with you. I think you sound like a very smart man. I think the man next to me does not sound very smart.
Ignoring the fact that you won your last Super Bowl allowing less than double-digit points. So virtually nothing to do with the quarterback.
Sure. I mean, was the last Super Bowl having everything to do with the quarterback? No. I mean, they scored 13 points in that game. So no, but right. I mean, look at the 3 Super Bowls before that. I mean, what was it? Brady throwing however many yards in the past Brady throwing for
all I know is we blanked the Falcons in the second half. All I know is we were phenomenal in the fourth quarter against Seattle to the point where Tom Brady had those numbers.
Who was orchestrating that?
Who kept giving him the ball back, bro? You understand if they get a couple first downs, it doesn't matter how good you are on the other side. You don't get the ball back. To constantly know as an offense that you will keep getting the ball back because of who your coach is and what your defense does in the playoffs is inquantifiable.
How many other guys have we seen come down? They were down by 14 points against the greatest defense in the league, the Legion of Boom. I mean, I'm just sounding like Elmer Fudd over here over the Legion of Boom. But
if they score in the fourth quarter, does it matter how good Tom is?
How many quarterbacks would have put up 14 points in that fourth quarter against the Legion of Boom? You don't think that's
a very good question.
No,
but I'll even add to this. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but if someone enters a debate with the word "if," to me, I'm like, yo, but what happened though? What's the reality? And the reality
is they didn't score in the fourth quarter. That's the reality.
Okay, great. You're right. They didn't score in the fourth quarter.
And the game was sealed by the best defensive play in Super Bowl history.
Hold on.
Okay. Let me finish. You and I both know, right? To get a championship, to win a chip, right? You need a leader, and Tom Brady is the leader of the Patriots. Yes, he had a great defense, but at the end of the day, he said somebody got to put the ball in the end zone. Who did that? Tom Brady. Somebody got to navigate the game. Who did that? Tom Brady.
Somebody at the 1 yard line has to intercept the ball, or none of that matters. Somebody has to stop them from scoring, or none of what Brady does matters.
Hey, at the end of the day, his leader put the battery in his back to do so.
I mean, I would think the leader is the guy who had them practicing the play that they ended up getting an interception on during the week.
All right, Frank, you could go back and forth with them all night.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I'm
letting you speak.
That's why you don't have 6 championship rings, and he does.
Wait, what?
Like, that's why you said I'm the guy that would do something else. I'm like, yes, you would do something else, but you don't have 6 chips. Tom Brady does at being the leader.
No, I said
and the quarterback of the Patriots.
For clarification, what I said, I would say the guy who is the leader is the guy who had them practicing that play prior to the game, i.e. great coaching, i.e. great leadership, i.e. Belichick.
Oh, yeah, because Belichick was on the field in the fourth quarter coming against the Legion of Boom, Frank, for God's sake.
No, but Malcolm Butler knew that play was coming.
Okay,
and that wasn't because of Brady.
Somebody had to get them in that position as well.
Sure. And
teamwork makes the dream work.
Sure.
We can split hairs all day long.
You're right. It's complimentary football.
Split hairs all day long.
You're right. It's the greatest coach and the greatest quarterback of all time. My line of
I agree.
demarcation just happens to fall on the line of the coach. That's all.
Okay, so you would lean more so on Belichick. So what happened this year then?
I believe he was petty.
What
I
happened?
believe he expected to go into the rebuild with Jimmy G and has just been kind of pissy since that hasn't happened. And don't get me wrong,
Ego.
Brady not showing up to OTAs and a pissy Bill Belichick still has us beat the Rams. That's what happens when you have the greatest coach and the greatest quarterback. And when they go separately,
I just want to break this for 1 second. Josh Dodd says, Frank, I'm not a homer by any means, but it seems like you are trying too hard to be a contrarian.
Not at all.
Any truth to this?
Not at all. Listen, Tom Brady's like, you have Allen Iverson, Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, Tom Brady. Like, those are my favorite athletes of all time. I'm not hating on Tom
You
Brady.
get points for AI.
Yeah, I'm not hating on Tom
I
Brady.
give you points for AI.
Look, the 0-1 Patriots turned everything around for Boston. We were a perennial loser city until the 0-1 Patriots. I don't know that we win the 0-4 World Series if we don't have 2 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowls in the bank. I love Tom Brady. I think it's getting overblown. The fact that they had 3 high draft picks, the Buccaneers did. They used 2 of them on defense, and then they win a playoff game based on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think that's Tom Brady's leadership. I don't think that him coming back in the fourth quarter.
Who got
is
him in
solely
the?
on
Who got him in the? I mean, when you say that, it kind of like says, okay, defense put y'all in the Super Bowl. All right, great.
This time, not every
Somebody
time.
throw the
This
ball
time.
and- okay, I mean, everybody has their qualms. I get it, no biggie. You're gonna lean towards my thing is like, then what happened this year? And it wasn't being petty; it was ego. Ego drove Brady out.
Same thing,
Ego
but also,
did.
but it's not just driving Brady out. Ego is what caused him to say Brady wants Alex Guerrero on the sideline. No. Not only no, I'm not drafting a wide receiver. Not only no, I'm not paying for a wide receiver. F you on your way out. You shouldn't have went upstairs to Dad to get me to trade Garoppolo. You should be somewhere else for 2 firsts, and I should have Jimmy G. What happened this year is that Belichick is incredibly arrogant and made a bad decision and did not what's best for his team.
Belichick made a. I can look at Belichick's bad decision making prior to Brady leaving or being asked to leave. Him benching Malcolm Butler in the chip was petty and a mistake.
Yep,
that cost him a
absolutely.
chip.
Yep, and that's Malcolm Butler yelling at Stephen Belichick. So that is literally the most.
Oh yeah,
hubris-
because that's worth it. Yeah.
No.
Right.
I'm agreeing with you on this. There's no excuse for not playing Malcolm Butler. That was Belichick not doing what's best for his team.
Because let's make sure that Bill's
this
kids are
dude's
taken care of.
ego is-
I agree with you guys. I can't defend that.
You can't.
I can just
And
tell
so
you that he
I would
won the
go-
next year, allowing less than 10 points. That's all I can tell you. He made up for it in my
That's
book.
amazing. But guess what? It would have been a 7th or 8th chip. Like, you got to think legacy. And
He's
think
got 2
like,
as a
all right,
defensive
cool.
coordinator, and in Bill's mind, not my mind, because who cares what I think. But in Bill's
They don't
mind,
count.
he never thought Bill Parcells. Sure, but he doesn't think that he's a worse coach than Bill Parcells. And that's what some of these greats look at it like. In the same way, no matter what you did to Michael Jordan, say hi to him in a restaurant, don't say hi to him in a restaurant. It's your fault I'm scoring 40. Belichick thinks I invented dime to get rid of Jerry Rice. F Parcells. Belichick thinks he has 8 rings. So if he wants to make a questionable decision, F everybody else. That's how he feels.
Well, he certainly made a few questionable decisions this year. Aaron, we're going to try our best to allow you to talk, which is what you should do with callers that call into our show. Aaron,
I know you guys are great.
Aaron, what else would you like to say?
Okay, you know what, Billy, you know how me and basketball go. It's like a religion. I say that loosely, but I've been playing basketball since I was 9 years old, since I was 8 years old. Okay, and I thought I'm okay, right? Kevin Durant getting James Harden and now Kyrie Irving all of a sudden wanted to wake up from the nap he took for 2 weeks is making me so anxious because as a basketball fan, I'm like, the Lakers, you are now in trouble. All right? Because what are you going to do? Right? James Harden going to Brooklyn kind of just totally diminishes the Celtics going to the chip. I have to deal with that emotionally. I'm trying. But knowing that if Brooklyn gets there and they're healthy and the LA gets there if they're healthy, what are they going to do? Kevin Durant is 6'11", who is now perfected, right, the elbow mid-range jumper. And he is
He's making it look too easy, isn't he?
He's making it look too easy on a hobbled Achilles, mended. I'm like, this is not right. This is not Billy. He's 58% on the 54% on the floor. I mean,
and he's over 50 for
48%
threes,
from
right?
three.
Yeah.
He's at 48% for three and like 90% at the line, and he's touching the ball 13 times.
I completely agree with you. He looks absolutely lethal. I think it's really incredible the chemistry that Harden and Durant have all these years later. I think it's really apparent right out of the gate. They haven't even had Harden in an actual practice yet, and the chemistry that these guys have, it's pretty scary. You bring up the fact that Irving wakes up out of his nap, and hey, Aaron, he just needed a pause. You heard him today. He just needed a pause. I mean, guys who get max contracts and play 60 games a year, they just need a pause, right? 7-8 games into the regular season, you need a pause. So I mean,
tired. My bad. It's a COVID season, so you didn't even get you didn't even play in 9 months. You didn't even have to go to the bubble. My bad. What were you doing then?
So my big question is,
he was swapping COVID with Jason Tatum.
Can Kyrie be the Bosch, though? Can he be the third banana and still make things work? I mean, we've seen him be the number one shot taker on the Cleveland Cavs with the best player in the world, winning championships. We saw him be the leader of a team with all this young talent in Boston. Nope, that wasn't good enough. I want to handpick my team in Brooklyn and play with Kevin Durant and have the deepest team in the league. And now he is, I think, unquestionably, Harden handles the ball better and is a better scorer. And can he be a guy that can be the third banana?
I think if you sedate him, and if you sedate him, but wake him up for basketball and basketball only, yes. I think Kyrie's biggest thing is his strongest thing. It's his mind. Whatever's going on inside that man's head is interesting, and I'm like, this is the wrong time, but the right time for you to be focused on your craft and focused on your job, getting your job done. But put it like this: when it comes to basketball, I think he has no problem in playing within the system. Because even in glimpses at Boston, there were like glimpses when he was here of him operating within the system. I saw it. I was like, okay, he's capable of doing it. For how long, we don't know. That's the question mark. But at the end of the day, if he's on point, if he's 100% green light and gassed up, what are you going to do? I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, like your third option is a guy who hits the biggest shot in LeBron's life. I'm exaggerating, but you get it. You know what I'm saying?
You're definitely exaggerating.
I mean, are you? I think I hear a LeBron fan in the background. Is that
no,
a LeBron fan?
No. LeBron scored 4 points after that three. I'm just saying, if you hit the biggest shot in NBA history and it happened with a minute to go, the guy who closed the game out hitting 4 free throws should probably get credit.
I mean, he probably should. But the difference is Michael and Kobe would have been the one making that shot instead of Kyrie.
They also would have been the one missing. That's the difference. LeBron is Magic Johnson. He isn't Kobe and Jordan. Give that up. He's Magic. He isn't LeBron and Jordan.
He's a vet in the league. I mean, I think LeBron is now proof. LeBron is doing now what I wanted to see from him 5 years ago, because I grew up under the Jordan era. LeBron right now will take the big shot, more likely take the big shot now and make it. Because now he has a jumper.
You mean 2016 LeBron? That Warriors series where he didn't have Love and Kyrie is the closest we're ever going to get to LeBron playing like Jordan and Kobe. Dribbling the ball down to 4 seconds left on the shot clock, backing down, and then hitting a paint shot. That is the closest thing you'll see to LeBron being those two guys. And it was amazing. And it was amazing. It's my favorite LeBron I've ever seen. My favorite LeBron is that series. It was the best version of LeBron.
At the risk of sounding like undisputed and only talking about Jordan and LeBron, I do want to keep this on track. And we've got a couple people in the comments here. Aaron, while we have you, we'll keep you for another minute or two. We have Nick Smith saying that Anthony Davis says, bring that shit here, boy. And we have Josh Dodd saying, I'll believe Harden wins a championship when I see it. So I guess the question is, if they're to go up against the Lakers, who do you ultimately like in that? Because, I mean, the Lakers bring Kyle Kuzma, they bring Montrezl Harrell, they bring Dennis Schroeder, and they bring Morris off the bench. I mean, 4 guys that could probably unquestionably start on other teams. So not only do they have 2 top 5 players, but they have a hell of a bench. So when you look at
that bench is not seeing Harden or KD or Kyrie one-on-one. I'm sorry.
Aaron, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you convinced that the trio in in Brooklyn can subjugate their ego? Because it sounds like you're already put them past that step.
Yeah, I you know what? And yeah, I'm happy you called me out on that because
Thank you.
I am. Because chemistry is very, very important. And in order for chemistry to work, egos have to be checked at the parking lot. And I agree with you. However, we're looking at two out of the three have been to the championship and have won and know what it gets there. So I'm banking on the familiarity of the moment and just relying on emotional intelligence. That's what I'm banking on.
Good.
You know what I'm saying? And James Harden never been that far, and he's been getting dragged through the mud for the past few months or whatever.
Well, he's looked bad up 3-1.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. But
you need a lot of horsepower to drag him through the mud these days. I mean, with what he's weighing in.
Not after he unzipped that fat suit.
Did he get an enema or a liquid diet on the way when he landed in Brooklyn? I mean, I don't know what it is, but it seemed like he dropped about 15 pounds when he
4 days, 15 pounds.
In the air, that fat suit weighed 15 pounds. That's exactly what that was. But he's even. I mean, last night he did what 33 and 6 or something like that. 34 and like 6, 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
7 dimes. I'm like, what? When did this happen?
He's showing
a little more girth.
Yeah, and I mean,
I'm like,
yeah, Aaron. I mean, we really appreciate you calling in. I think you gave us a lot to talk about, and I love that you were able to go at Frankie. That was some great stuff. We appreciate you calling in and giving us some good stuff to chew on tonight, and we'll talk to you later, man.
Guys, have a great one, man. Nice calling in. Hey,
all right.
Frankie, you cool with me, buddy?
Hey, thanks, brother.
All right, Billy. Peace.
All right, later, man. So some great stuff there from Aaron. I mean, Aaron is one of the guys that is, I mean, he's really locked into the NBA. Like, when we meet up, we can talk about the NBA for like 2 hours. I mean, it's just like we can go on, old school rosters forever and all that. So, I mean, some good stuff there. But I do think it is a good question in terms of, at some point, Harden and Irving are both guys that need the ball to be effective, right? I mean, Irving has that crazy handle. Harden is not an exceptional shooter. He needs the ball to be effective, and there's only one. I mean, the only guy out of these three that we've been able to see play effectively without it is Durant, and we've only seen Harden really, having the ball. Are they going to be able to make it work in Brooklyn?
Here's what I feel. And we haven't seen. Look, I'd love to speak authoritatively, but we haven't seen all three of them on the court at the same time, so I won't open myself to put my foot in my mouth. What I will say is, if you take the ball out of Irving's hands or Harden's hands, you take away what makes either one of them special. Kevin Durant is the easiest scorer I've ever seen in my lifetime. He's the most efficient scorer I've ever seen in my lifetime. He's 7'1", can handle the ball, can shoot from 35. I mean, he's unbelievable. And he needs 10 shots a game to get 30. But Irving needs to break you down. And Irving needs to be able to get to the basket and go to the free throw line. And the best thing about James Harden is that he shoots 10 free throws a game, and he can lead the league in assists because of how much attention he draws dribbling. If one of those guys is in the corner, Irving or Harden, I don't know how it works. How do you think it works?
I honestly think if I was Brooklyn, I would have been a lot more sold on keeping two of those guys. I think first, obviously they had Durant and Irving, and I would just say keep those guys, keep your deep bench, and I think you've got enough firepower in Kyrie and Durant. I think Harden is a better player than Irving, but I think he isn't not, and I totally agree with you. I think if you put Harden just in the corner, I mean, he's going to shoot like 35% from three. He's probably going to shoot like maybe 45% or something like that from two. I mean, Irving's the better shooter out of the two, but I think it's not enough basketball to go. I just think those guys have too much usage to really make it work. And I think with what they've done with the bench there, I think a few years ago when we saw a team like Miami, they really didn't have to have much on their bench. It was like three guys, and they were able to get Bosch to be able to buy in. I just don't see one of these guys really being the Bosch.
32-year-old Birdman isn't a quality NBA player now.
Yeah, and Udonis Haslem. I mean,
Shannon Henderson. What else? Who do they have? Mike Miller,
a 40-year-old
Shane
Ray
Battier?
Allen, and Shane Battier. Yeah, I mean, I think you used to be able to hodgepodge, but I just think with some of these teams in terms of how deep they are, I get what Aaron's saying. ideally you're not going to have all those guys from the Lakers playing against those top guys from Brooklyn. But the fact is that you're going to be able to play LeBron and Davis for about 30 minutes a night, on a lot of those games and be able to really save them up for when they need it. Whereas with Brooklyn, you're going to have to kind of ride these guys till the wheels fall off.
Well, the other thing, right, is I believe Aaron said, what are you going to do? Like, what is the rest of the league going to do? Because assuming they subjugate, because that's a big part, assuming they subjugate the ego and they can play at their peak, wow, what a team Brooklyn will be. Wow, what a team Brooklyn will be. You know what you'll do, though? You'll score 140 points against them like you used to against the 80s Nuggets. Like every team Alex English was ever a part of, he was going to get his team was going to get his, but that team could be had 145 to 135. You know what's going to happen to the Nets? That. They are ranked 15th in the league in defense, and that is largely based on the pogo stick they traded away. As soon as that defense and those three guys are on the court at the same time, you know what you're going to do? Kill them on the other side of the ball. Because those three, even if they're selfish and not subjugating their ego, are still going to be good for nearly 100 points a game. But nobody on that team can guard AD. Precisely 0 people. Nobody on that team is really going to stop LeBron. And if they can turn that into a muddy, 110 to 108 game, that's going to the Lakers. I mean, the Nets really have to win games now. You're talking 130 to 115. Like that's where their game plan is, and that's assuming that the three-headed monster they have plays well together and is complementary.
Yeah, if it's me, I'm happy taking 2 of those guys and creating a deeper team. Like now with what they've done, I would just trade Irving for some depth. I mean, I think that's enough with what they have in terms of Durant and Harden. I don't think they need a third guy. I think the Lakers have kind of shown us, too, what you get when you put 2 top 5 guys together and put a decent team around them. I don't necessarily think you need all 3 to make it work. We've also seen in these first 2 games here that you're talking about needing to score 130 points between. I mean, Durant and Harden have been assisting or scoring on about 115 points a game between the 2 of them.
Oh, yeah.
So that means, if Irving's able to put up like another 15 on top of what they've been doing, they could potentially do that.
But Harden can't keep doing what he's doing once you reinsert Kyrie Irving. And that's even if they are complementary. Again, you're talking about 2 guys who, in a given isolation play, are going to dribble the ball 6 times. In a 24-second shot clock, and Kyrie Irving, I think, has got the fastest handles ever. I believe he can make 2 crossovers in under 2 seconds. And still with 6 crossovers, 6 dribbles, he's going to take 4 seconds off the clock. He's going to pass it to Harden, who takes 8 dribbles and takes another 10 seconds off the clock. Sure, they can always kick it to Kevin Durant. Look, if this team ends up winning, it will be 100% on Kevin Durant. That's really what this boils down to. The Kyrie Irving and James Harden, even if they want to, even if they're fully committed, even if they subjugate their ego, do not play complementary basketball to each other. So if they win, it's going to have to be either Harden or Kyrie can accept a third role, which isn't going to happen, or Kevin Durant can just continue to be the most efficient scorer ever and make it work, scoring the same amount of points on even fewer touches.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you, and we actually have some, Josh Dodd commenting in and kind of backing you as well, Frank, talking about that everything's got to go right for the Nets to beat the Lakers in the finals, and I would agree with that too. I think the Lakers are a stronger team between the 2 of them. I just think the Lakers are too deep at this point. They have too much talent, and they're too deep. I mean, Kyle Kuzma looks like a bum on that team. Kyle Kuzma is probably like 18-7 on another team. I mean, so it's just like that guy looks terrible. They got him on an absolute steal, and those guys that they have. I mean, they've got Schroeder and Harrell, which for my money are the 2 best bench players in the league.
Hasn't started working yet. I expected it to start working, but it hasn't looked good early on.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's segue back to the NFL for a little bit because we do have some things to talk about there. Let's do predictions in terms of who we like in the games coming up this weekend. You've got. I mean, we really don't have too much to talk about. Nothing too noteworthy in this weekend. The Packers beat the Rams pretty handily. The Bills kind of beat the Ravens, and with the injury to Lamar and just the way that Lamar kind of plays in playoff games, it just wasn't as competitive. So looking ahead to these games where we have the Chiefs dealing with the concussion of Mahomes, I mean, who do you like in terms of the Chiefs-Bills?
It's going to be the Chiefs. If Chad Henne starts, the Chiefs will still win this game. And I don't say that because I'm a prisoner of the moment. It'll be a completely different game plan if Chad Henne ends up being the starter. But they have too many weapons that the Bills really can't cover. And for all, and I'm happy that the Bills are finally good, that the Dolphins or the Jets might get Deshaun Watson. Like, we've had free reign over the AFC East for long enough. I'm happy the Bills are finally back. They donated $290,000 to Lamar's charity after the concussion. Wonderful fan base, awesome team, easy to root for. They're not ready yet. They're not ready yet. They're a year ahead of schedule. And for the record, Josh Allen has tried to lose both playoff games this year. Has tried his darndest to lose both playoff games this year.
Yeah, he really has, and I think the NFL is going to do whatever they can. I mean, you already see that Mahomes is, going through this concussion protocol. But I mean, I would be shocked if he does not play in this game. I mean, I would literally. I would be, completely. It would be a bigger surprise to me if Mahomes didn't play this game than for the Nuggets to beat the Clippers last year. And that was something that I completely couldn't see. So I think that Mahomes is definitely going to play in this game. I just think they have too much going on. It seems like nobody can knock them off. I mean, it seems like they're primed to win a couple Super Bowls in this window. And I definitely see Mahomes playing in this game, and I think the Chiefs will do well. I think that the Bills have played great. They're actually pretty primed, in terms of being a strong contender for these last four. They can score, they can defend, but I just think their luck is run up.
They're the least complete team in the last four.
Least complete, but still pretty complete for, they can score 30 points as well.
Oh, they can win in a shootout. Like, if they win 42-38, I'm not going to look at you and tell you I'm shocked. I wouldn't have predicted it. I wouldn't have put money on it, but I wouldn't be shocked. I think, and again, for me, the Kansas City Chiefs have probably the best core of any team in the league. And this is the last year Patrick Mahomes is on his rookie deal because he signed early. He's getting $5 million this year, I think. He's getting like 30 or 40 next year. So this is really the last year that they have a full complementary of players. Like Tyrann Mathieu, going to be gone soon. They've re-upped Kelsey and Chris Jones, which means everybody else is gone soon. So this is their last really great opportunity.
They're not going to be able to keep the AFC Pro Bowl team for much longer, is what you're saying?
No, I mean, even guys like Eric Fisher are going to be gone soon. Like, if this is not going to – and again, will they still be good with one of the best coaches in the league and the best quarterback in the league? Sure, they'll still be great. They'll still win 11 games. They won 12 games with Alex Smith. They'll be a good team. But having a stacked roster, that's done soon. And they know that. And they won last year, and they're they're one defensive player lining up the neutral zone away from being 3 for 3 in Super Bowls the last 3 years. So, like, I'm not willing to tell you that the Bills are going to come in and stop that. I don't think they're that good. I think they're a year away.
Well, let's look at the other game on the other side. For the NFC, we obviously have the Bucs that we talked about for maybe a minute or two in this broadcast. And then we have the Packers as well. Aaron Rodgers, unquestionably the MVP as far as I'm concerned at this point. And, just with insane numbers this year, throwing for 48 touchdowns, 5 picks. And, they just... against the best defense in the league, Devontae Adams said it himself. You do this against the best team in the league and best defensive in the league. Can anybody stop you? They can't. What do you think in terms of how does the game play out this weekend?
488 yards against the best defense, scoring wise, best passing defense, and fewest yards against. 488 yards. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, look, the Packers right now are clicking. If I had any faith in Aaron Rodgers, I would pick them to win the Super Bowl. I mean, Aaron Rodgers to me is how I felt about Peyton Manning before he went to Denver. He's the best thrower of the football in my lifetime who also can't win. He happens to have 2 very important things going for him. Greatest thrower of the football, not very good in the playoffs.
I agree. I mean, I think that we've seen the Packers do pretty good in the playoffs like the last few years, or, even with Rodgers, we've seen them do well in the first round or two. It seems to always be at about this point where Rodgers craps his pants. I think we saw the Bucs play up. Usually I don't believe too much in the regular season carryover, but I do think the Bucs are probably going to have the edge confidence-wise, just in terms of how much they were able to bottle them up in the regular season. And I do think that the Bucs are going to be able to come out on top of that one. I'm going to go with the Bucs in that one.
I'll go Packers. I do think the Packers are going to win. I think it's going to be ugly. Like, I'll put it to you like this. I'm going to pound the under. That's going to be a high. I'm going to pound the
under. A high mark.
Sure. And also, here's the thing. I think that Green Bay is so much more complete than Tampa Bay. I'm not buying the cheese on Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's defense is super talented and exceeding all expectation. Anthony McFarland was a run support, fumble-causing liability in defensive coverage who's all of a sudden just wiping away half of the field as a safety. I don't have faith that in his first conference title game of his career, he's going to keep doing that. And if anybody's going to do it, it's probably the son of a former NFL player, so they have the makeup. Devin White has never looked better than this. He was a top 5 draft pick, I think 4 overall, and he's been unbelievable but never better than this year. And Ndamukong Suh finally subjugating his ego, topic of the fucking day, and he's finally doing very well. And he's playing and he's never ever doing the Albert Hainsworth, which is of course getting pancaked and staying on the ground.
Quietly having a hell of a year.
And Ndamukong Suh, yeah, he really is. But again, they're overrated on run defense because nobody really runs against them. And in pass defense, they have a lot of penalties. I mean, even against the Saints, they had 8 penalties for nearly 100 yards. The Saints had 6 first downs on penalties. If they didn't have noodle-R Drew Brees, they probably lose that game despite outplaying them the entire game. I mean, if they don't have a guy fumbling and throwing the ball and the Saints wanted to lose that game, and Tampa Bay's defense played better than they've ever played. So that's what it's going to take. Aaron Rodgers is going to have to play one of his worst games ever. Because even in his losses, I make fun of him losing to Seattle. But if his tight end isn't a effing hero and catches an onside kick, he wins that game. Like, this is not Aaron Rodgers' fault. As much as I talk about his playoff shortcomings, a lot of those are not on Aaron Rodgers, per se. I think he's going to win this game. I don't have a lot of faith in it. Like, I'd put more money on Brady. I'll see what the line is before I bet it. But I think the Packers are going to win. I think whatever the line is, I'd bet the under, and Tampa Bay's probably going to cover. But I think Green Bay's going to win.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely taking the other side of that. But as we get into, let's talk about another quarterback. You know, the theme of the day has also been teams getting rid of amazing quarterbacks for no reason. So let's talk about the Texans. They have somehow mismanaged Deshaun Watson, who is a 25-year-old stud who, at the most important position in in sports, continues to get better, leads the league in yards, hardly throws any turnovers, and he's doing this without any personnel around him. I mean, if I were him, I would refuse to play the season just based on the fact they traded DeAndre Hopkins for a backup running back, right? So, I mean, this guy already has enough reasons to be upset. They tell him they're going to give him some moves in terms of the personnel. Immediately, they don't consult him in a personnel move, and shocker, he is upset and wants out. My God, how do you mess this up with Deshaun Watson? And if I'm the Pats, I'd give up the entire draft board this year to get him. What do you think plays out for Deshaun Watson, and who should be into the Deshaun Watson chase?
I mean, who should be into? There's about 4 teams in the league that shouldn't be into the Deshaun Watson. If you're on the cusp, if you're in a rebuild, if you're knocking on the door, under all of those circumstances, you should be looking to get Deshaun Watson on your team. If you're the Jets and you could trade Darnold, the 2nd overall pick, and a future first when you have 5 picks in the next 3 years, 5 firsts in the next 3 years, you're stupid. If you're San Francisco, you're strapped up against the cap, and you can't get rid of 3 picks, maybe 2 firsts and Nick Bosa, you're in there. There's no team that should. If you're the Patriots, I would give you, look it. Belichick cannot
You don't want to keep
draft.
Garoppolo over there?
First of all, the best thing that happens for the Patriots
He executes
is
that
Watson
system
goes
better than anybody else.
The best thing that happens for the Patriots is that Watson goes to the 49ers, and without the addition of Jimmy Garoppolo in that trade, and then we get him back. That's the best thing that could happen for the Patriots, because I'll tell you what, even though we should trade
because
9
they're going to be
firsts,
cheap and not spend on a quarterback. Exactly.
Damn right. We're talking about bringing Adam Gase back. You know why? Because the Jets are going to pay him for another 2 years. If you're cheap, we'll pay you. Come over to New England. I'm okay with it. I'm sorry. But because Deshaun Watson is the question. Every team. I think the 2 best teams in terms of being able to offer the Texans what I think they need are the Jets and the Finns. I think if you give the Finns, if you give Houston either Tua, the 3rd overall pick, and Xavier Howard, or Tua in the 18th pick and 2 more firsts, you get it done, and that's good for both of you. If you're the Jets, there's nothing you should not offer. I mean, if they got 2 firsts and a 2nd for Jamal Adams, so if you trade just those picks that you got for Jamal Adams and Sam Darnold and a 2nd, you basically traded Jamal Adams and Darnold for Deshaun Watson, Which, when you
Which
put
is
it out like
something I
that,
would
is
do.
ridiculous. So, I mean, there's really no amount of firsts that are too good. No matter who you draft, you look at every team in the league. Oh, I'm going to draft Justin Fields. I'm going to draft Trevor Lawrence. Do you know who you hope they turn into? Deshaun Watson. There's no reason you should not be trying to target this man.
And how scary would the Dolphins be if they were to get Deshaun Watson?
I
mean,
think that's
you've got a team that's turned over their roster completely in the last 2 years while winning games and doing that. There's been no team that's had more guys come in and out of there in the last 2 years. I mean, I think you really have to give a lot of credit to the coaching there, and obviously that's the first time it's coming out of the Belichick tree in a positive way. I mean, if you want to maybe count Vrabel, I still
Mancini
don't,
had 1 year.
I still don't know what the technicality is in counting Vrabel or not.
He's not.
He's a player.
He's not. If Seymour becomes a defensive coordinator, you're not going to count him either. Guys who left hating Bill Belichick and Kraft aren't under that umbrella. They're just not. It's not how that goes. When you get traded for a second-round pick to the Chiefs because you said F you to Kraft, you're probably not going to be in that Belichick coaching tree. He was never brought back here as a coach.
That's probably a good point. Yeah, and I probably wouldn't count it either. But you just feel like that a lot of people are going to try to do whatever they can to lump those guys into the Belichick coaching tree. I just think it's amazing that the Texans could mismanage Deshaun Watson.
Everything,
I mean, that
really.
is a guy that you should just lay down. That guy says, jump. You say, how high? I am willing to do this, and that. That guy should point, and you should go there. I mean, it's just the guy is a 25-year-old stud. It just honestly, I can't even fathom. I mean, Billy O'Brien is an absolute clinic in how to ruin a franchise, how to drive a franchise into the ground.
More than that, what's going on in Houston? And I didn't want to bring this up because there's only scarce articles about it. But, Jack,
hold that thought. We've got one ringing through. Hi, you live with Open Season. Who's on the line?
Yo, it's Whitey from Queens.
Whitey. Welcome. Happy New Year, buddy. How you doing?
Happy New Year, bro. You guys surprised I'm calling with a non-Steelers topic?
I was hoping you were calling with a Steelers topic.
Actually, I probably will still.
Whitey, there was somebody
call
last
the
week
Steelers.
who commented, they were like, did anybody check in on that Steelers fan? And I was so wishing we had the calls last week. But at any rate, we're glad you can call in this week. And what's on your mind?
Yeah. I mean, that was a rough. I mean, I'm mentally destroyed from that Steelers game. That's like 9 picks that Big Ben threw over his last 2 playoff games. Yeah. It's miserable. I mean, ever since I've been like strong arm, like beating my chest to the Steelers, calling you guys every week. Since week 11, it's been a shit show. Like that team just aged by like 20 years in the last second half of the season. But anyway, I wanted to call about this Deshaun Watson business because, as you guys know, I'm a New Yorker, so like I think I got to agree with Frankie. I think the only 2 teams that have a realistic shot are the Dolphins and the Jets, because the Dolphins have the 3rd pick and Tua, the Jets have the 2nd pick. But let me put this there: I think the Texans could trade with the Jets because they could just draft Fields with the 2nd pick, and then the Jets could hold on to Sam Darnold and trade him, hopefully, to the Steelers or the Patriots. I know like Steelers and Pats are basically in the same situation. We have no real quarterback. I mean, Big Ben aged like 20 years. Like I said, the whole team aged. I mean, we had that week four bye, so like it was just brutal second half of the year. But we need a successor at quarterback, and Pats obviously need a quarterback. And let's be real: Steelers, Patriots, the Bears, the 49ers all want to upgrade at QB, but we don't have a good enough draft slot to get Watson because the Texans could easily get the 2nd or 3rd pick. So really, those are the only 2 teams I think they're going to get him.
But Watson has a no-trade clause. So Watson can't go to certain teams, i.e. teams he doesn't want to, i.e. the biggest return you can get is from the Jets, and he might just decide, I don't want to go there. I don't think he'll do that because the only 2 coaches he mentioned were Eric Bieniemy and Robert Saleh, and Robert Saleh is the head coach of the New York Jets. So I think he'd go there, but if he decides he doesn't want to go to some of these circumstances, guess who's not going? The guy with the no-trade clause.
Yeah, I just think he wants to get out of there, so he's going to waive that no-trade clause. And also, let me put it this way. I don't think you guys heard this, but the New York Post had a tweet to an article basically saying, Jets, trade for Watson, basically give them whatever they want for Watson. And then Watson liked that tweet. So he obviously, he's down to go to New York. That's a big market. the Jets, I think with that hire of Saleh, are really going to like regain some like competitiveness and like basically build like an actual culture. So I think the Jets and the Dolphins too. The Dolphins with the head coach Flores from the Pats. He's a good coach. I think they have a stable organization over there in Miami. I think they finished the season 10-6. Like they should have made the playoffs.
Yeah, and they did that with a quarterback. Yeah, they did that with a tandem of Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua, who could kept kind of throwing up on himself in any type of high pressure situation. So I really thought it was impressive what the Dolphins did. Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, you talked about the Jets, but he also said that he would go to Miami as well, and I just think Miami would be terrifying with him.
Miami, I think, is because if he goes to the Jets, they're not ready to win. If he goes to Miami, they're ready to win right now. And I'm sorry, Whitey, but as for the Steelers, A, you can't afford them. But if you somehow manage that, if you sign Bud Dupree to a one-year deal and you can make the contracts add up, whatever, what is the point of spending first and second round picks on wide receivers if you also need a top-of-the-market quarterback to get the most out of them? Isn't the point of drafting Mike from Hines Ward, Mike Wallace, Emmanuel Sanders, all of them, Martavis Bryant, Chase Claypool, Antonio Brown? I can keep going. They've always drafted well at that position. The point of drafting well at that position is that you've never needed a top-5 quarterback. Big Ben's only season as a top-5 quarterback was the year before the elbow injury. And if you guys can't win with a mediocre quarterback, you need to stop drafting receivers that highly. You need an offensive line.
Yeah, honestly, like the Steelers, I have no idea what we're doing at QB. I mean, I think
you're not bringing Big Ben back at a $40 million price tag. I can tell you that.
Well, we are if we don't trade for somebody. But either way, like I think the Steelers and the Pats really, both of us should try and trade for Sam Darnold because this kid got ruined by Adam Gase. I think a fresh start is what he needs. The talent is there. The kid can scramble. He's got a rocket of an arm. He just makes questionable decisions. I think that comes down to having, like 3 different head coaches his first 3 years, like different offensive coordinators. Gase was a dumpster fire. I'm sorry. Gase is like the worst coach I've ever seen in my life.
I've never seen one Keep going.
Yeah, I think the Pats and the Steelers should both make an attempt at getting Sam Darnold. I think our franchises, we need the next quarterback. Tom Brady's gone. Big Ben clearly shows that, unless he has like a Drew Brees type of event where he can get 6 weeks off during the regular season and be fresh for the playoffs, he can't move. He can't move anymore. And, we need to retool that offensive line. Our offensive line aged quick. We couldn't run the ball. We couldn't do anything on offense. So I think we need some young talent at QB. And same thing with the Pats. I mean, I think the Pats, they have to figure out how to draft playmakers. I don't think they've, like the Steelers, have shown they can draft studs in 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds. Patriots have not shown that. I don't know what the problem is in New England, but
the problem is in New England they don't like a thing called talent. They like to draft these submissive little guys that were captains of their college teams, and they like to find guys in the 6th round that can be good. And sometimes you just need to take that guy in the 1st that's an absolute stud. Frankie, I can see a blood vessel is going to pop in your head.
Because sometimes that guy in the 6th round is Tom Brady. And sometimes that guy in the 2nd round is Rozier Dowling or Duke Dawson. But sometimes it's Jamie Collins. Sometimes it's Devin McCourty. I've stood by it. Belichick goes through fits and starts. He's had 4- and 5-year runs where they're all busts, and he's had 4- and 5-year runs where they all hit.
He hasn't hit anything since 2013.
I.e. the whole rut. I.e. peaks and valleys.
You can give this guy an 8-year rut?
What do you mean 8 years? He outside of the trade for Revis, he drafted the entire defense that won in 14.
Yeah, he drafted them in 2011?
12. And 13.
I'm just saying, I mean, at this point, I would trade
the Steelers
any...
have drafted and let go of Pro Bowl...
You guys draft well...
more than the Patriots have drafted in the last 10 years.
Agreed!
That's what
we
I'm
let
saying.
go of Mike Wallace. We let go of A.B., Le'Veon Bell. Like, we draft stud playmakers every year. It's just this year... Our quarterback can't, he can't play the modern NFL, which is scrambling around.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the Steelers fan. Unless Roethlisberger opts in and is part of the trade for Watson, you guys don't have the cap room for him, right? In other words, You guys cannot re-sign Bud Dupree and make the Deshaun Watson trade, correct?
Right, we can't. We'd have to let go of Bud Dupree. We have a few free agents. this year that we have to let go.
I think Joe Hayden too. See, the Pats
Yeah, Joe
with
Hayden.
just picks can do it because we're $80 million in cap room.
And if I'm the Pats, I'm trading picks because, again, we haven't seen Belichick hit since 2013. These picks mean nothing.
Trade all of them.
And
Look, I'm a Belichick guy. Trade them all.
That's
Trade
what I'm
them all.
saying.
Trade them all. There's nothing. The Ricky Williams trade.
Whitey,
All
I
of it.
completely agree with you, too. I think that Darnold is a guy that's been tarnished by having terrible coach. He's a guy that still has good talent. I mean, I think the only other guy, too, is maybe bringing a guy like Carson Wentz for one of these two
Or
two
Hurts, 'cause they have to
organizations.
pick one of them.
And I think they're going to pick Hurts.
I think Wentz is going to
I
Indy.
think Wentz is a guy that maybe one of these two teams should be on. The other two teams should be on. But I totally agree with you. I think if they were to get their hands on him and be able to give him some good coaching, surround him with a decent atmosphere, I think he's absolutely just been spoiled by what he's been around in New York. And, I mean, it's really not fair to let anybody, let alone the youngest guy in the NFL over the past couple of years, to kind of come into that system, not have any weapons or anything like that. He just hasn't gotten a chance to mature. He hasn't really got a chance to sit and watch anyone. He's really got no coaching or any type of seasoning. And the guy's only, 23?
You know his problem in college was?
He's still a baby. He was the youngest quarterback drafted. I mean, he was playing when he was like 21 years old.
I think he was playing at
And-
20, actually.
Yeah, he's also the
Yeah,
most
could be,
talented.
yeah.
He's also the most talented quarterback in that draft. Like, hands down to me, he's the most talented quarterback in that draft. His problem at USC was throwing
too many
turnovers.
picks.
Yep.
He's the best.
Well, Josh Allen has the biggest arm, but he's also seems like a lunkhead to me. I'm not convinced on Josh Allen. You're not gonna. Again, I used to make fun of him for that play last year where he threw the ball over his head like Lendell or like Reggie Bush in the Texas game, and he's only been worse. The 20-yard sack in the first round of the playoffs, and then last week, I mean, he tried to lose that game. So no, he's not better than Darnold.
You're gonna piss off Whitey right now. Whitey, are you pissed?
I just think it's lunacy. I mean, I'm biased because Josh Allen was my quarterback this year in fantasy, and I won the chip with
Happy
Josh
for
Allen
you.
putting up 30. He put up 30, 40 points regularly. This dude is an absolute stud. His biggest issue is accuracy, and he seemed to fix that this offseason. He's not the most accurate quarterback, but at least he's not awfully inaccurate like he was his first 2 years. So I think he fixed that. He's definitely better than Darnold, but
Whitey, I'd like to
I
ask
think
you.
Darnold is probably the second most talented outside of Josh Allen.
I'd like to
Definitely
ask
more
you.
talented than Baker Mayfield.
Well, that's not even a question. Has anybody in pro sports ever gone further with one recommendation or vote of confidence than Adam Gase? I mean, Peyton Manning said he's the reason I threw 55 touchdowns in 2014. That was 2 head coaching jobs and a coordinator job ago. Has anybody ever gone further with one track record of one guy saying he's good than Adam Gase? I mean, Devontae Parker said, I hated football. Jarvis Landry and Adam Gase get into a fight 3 games into the season. Jamal Adams said I was depressed. Robbie Anderson said I was losing my passion for football. Does anybody in the world, I hope to God, that whatever you do for a profession, you are as good at it as Adam Gase is at driving the life and soul out of his football players.
Can we please play the Stephen A. clip where he said he was high during that press conference when he got brought on there? That should have been a alert to everybody. I mean, that guy was looking cross-eyed and all weird from the first second that he was in there. Totally agree that guy has been elevated and by a 55 touchdown campaign by Peyton Manning. But I mean.
I think Peyton Manning has Frank, I don't know if you're Italian or not, but there's an expression, the Maloik. You're Italian?
Yeah.
You know the Maloik?
No.
The Maloik. It's when someone puts an evil curse on you. That's why people wear the Italian horns. I think that Peyton Manning put the Maloik on the Jets because he's bitter about those 2 playoff losses against the Jets and he wants to stick it to him. That's what Jets fans think because this guy, I don't know how the hell he got the job. No one likes him. It's absurd. And have you guys heard that he just interviewed for the offensive coordinator position with the Seahawks?
Yes.
Do you believe that?
Yes.
How could you still want that guy to coordinate an offense? I mean,
What's more egregious?
how many 30th ranked offenses does that guy need to lead before he's not qualified to be an offensive
Second
coordinator?
most egregious thing that happened to the Saints. What's more egregious? Adam Gase getting the interview or Dan Campbell getting a head coaching job?
Oh my God!
Come on now.
The bro coach.
It's invaluable, man. You woke a sleeping monster. I'm on roids. He's never called the play in the NFL. He has no idea what he's doing.
Well, Whitey, hey, we appreciate you calling in. We're a little bit past the shot clock, so we are gonna let you drop. But we appreciate you calling in, and it's always good to have you follow up and just make sure that you weren't in a dark room or anything after that Steelers season. It definitely came to a pretty ugly end for you guys. So we'll catch up with you next week, and hopefully they're going to make a play for Sam Darnold or something, because they honestly have. Honestly, they have a pretty good coach.
Don't undersell Rudolph. Don't undersell Rudolph.
I think they've got.
No.
I'm underselling Rudolph. Rudolph is not good. You would
I've
want to
watched
move
him. He's
forward.
not good.
You would not feel confident moving forward with Rudolph.
No. I liked him in the
Absolutely
draft, and he's still on a Steelers team that knows how to develop personnel. So just like Jimmy G with Brady, if they see him for 3 years in practice and they still like him, I will give them the benefit of the doubt.
Before I go, also, I forgot about Jimmy G. I forgot about Matt Stafford. There's a ton of options that
Cousins.
the Pats and the Steelers can do for quarterback next year. So
Ryan.
I'm excited to monitor this.
I would go crazy. If I was a fan of either team, I would love to have Stafford.
Fascinating
That guy has
offseason.
played around nothing his entire. If he were to go to one of those offenses,
Except for Calvin.
that guy's had no coaching. Yeah, sure, but I just mean he hasn't had any type of leadership.
Ever.
All he's had is Calvin, and so I think he'd be fantastic. He's led the league in passing yards how many times too with nothing. So, what were you gonna say?
Jim Caldwell. We laughed at him, but if you look at the history of coaches, he's a lot better than your Nerve Turners, than your Marty Schottenheimers, than your Adam Gases. They were 14-2 under him after he went 14-2 in Indy. He had one time with a good coach.
I'm not going to say
he's
he's better than Marty Schottenheimer, but hey. Whitey, we'll let you go, my man. We appreciate you calling in, and we'll catch up with you next week.
All right, fellas, be safe.
All right, you too. Well, hey, that is going to do it for Matt White. That's also going to do it for us. It's great to be back. It feels good fielding the calls. It feels good to light Belichick up a little bit. We appreciate you all hanging with us, and we'll catch you next week, same time, same place. See you then.
Conference, and he's ready to get to work, Stephen A.
Let me stop.
That's that pre-workout.
All I'm going to say is this.
Charlie Murphy.
If that were a player, we'd either be asking for some tests to be taking place, or y'all would ask me to say, stay off the weed.
I don't think that doesn't look.
Saying that look
What?
on that man's face, he don't look there. He don't look there. Listen, all right, guys, we on first take.
I'm just not sure that Kyler Murray is big enough. This is Tom Brady. He's not just going to retire. Whitey, big fan of the show. Appreciate I've got Ryan Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Harden is systematically ruining the game of basketball. He's the most overrated player. And there you are, the Chicago Bears with a championship